Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of Society Chat, a Zoomcast series with me and some of my friends from the British Academy of Interior Design and beyond. My name is Dhilnawaaz Trotman from Dhilnawaaz Trotman Interior Design Studio, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here today. If you haven't watched episode 1, which aired 2 weeks ago and covered surviving 2020 and joining the British Academy of Interior Design, then you can catch that on my IGTV as well as on my website, dktinteriordesignstudio.com, and let me know your thoughts. We've had some amazing feedback so far from other students at the Academy and other institutions, and it's really been motivating for us to continue the conversation. So today, in episode 2, we'll be looking at finding your groove in interior design. And before we get started, I'd like to quickly introduce you to my guest panelists today. So today we have with us Emily Cooper, who has been in the retail industry for the past 15 years and more recently has moved over to the financial sector where she's working part-time. And she's also completing her HNC with the British Academy of Interior Design. We also have with us Dina Campana, who has been in corporate real estate for several years now. And Dina's completing her postgraduate diploma with the British Academy of Interior Design. And finally, we have Tayla Ann Galt, a fellow South African, who is completing her higher national diploma with the British Academy of Interior Design and is also a dental nurse working for a private dental clinic for the past few years now. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
It's so good to have you all here today. Of course, today we're covering really key points with regards to finding your groove in interior design. And we're going to look at getting to grips with studies, picking up from the previous episode. We're also going to look into design confidence and how you build that. Looking into design fatigue, when that sets in, how you cope with it, and design growth, and when that kind of is triggered within you, when you recognize it after overcoming certain challenges, and then finally, who's inspiring you today. So let's get stuck in. So we know from the previous episode where we talked about surviving 2020 and actually taking on board this new journey of incorporating interior design studies into our life, that it's been quite a bit to take on board. But what I really want to kind of cover to start with is, what were the key things, or what was the main experience that you've had with getting to grips with studies? Because this is a question that we tend to get a lot. I know I get that question personally from other students who, reach out through Instagram, on how to get to grips with studying. And you've now decided you wanted to study interior design, you're trying to juggle your life with studies, and you've got all of these new books and materials to get stuck into, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we'll start with Emily. How was that for you? What did you do when you first got started? And I mean, it's not very long ago, so.
No, I only started in September. So just as the schools had gone back, and because I work part-time, I then had a couple of days to myself again, where I really wanted to do something for myself. It felt like the right time to take on a new challenge and to get my teeth stuck into something. So immediately I was like ordering everything, all the drawing boards, all the pencils, like getting really excited about having all of this new equipment around. So obviously it takes a while to sort of get to grips with all of that and sort of researching all of the things that you're going to have to know, and getting used to all the different terminology and everything. I've never done a course like this before at all, so getting used to sort of doing critical analysis and essays and everything like that was a real learning adjustment for me. but I think you just have to find what works for you. So initially I had a couple of days a week that I could sit and do that, but obviously that's now changed. We're back to homeschooling again. So I take any minute of the day that I can at the moment. I do try and structure it, but sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And I think as long as you're not putting too much pressure on yourself to do something which you can't achieve, I think then you just have to make it work for you and your own circumstances, really.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. I think, Dina, that definitely resonates with you, homeschooling and juggling all of that. So what's been your experience?
Yeah, so Dale, when you said, well, you have everything, that's actually me, because I have now I have full-time job and it's quite demanding, and I have very demanding two little girls. But I've been thinking about interior design for a while now, and when I was on maternity leave, I decided, well, I need to do it. I need to do it for myself, like Emily says, and it was extremely overwhelming. It was extremely overwhelming because it's just me, my computer, and a lot of material to go through. So what I then decided to do, of course, is just making sure that you have priorities. So I created a structure, and it really worked well when I was on maternity leave. But now that we do, all the like homeschooling and maintaining lots of things, it's really hard. But what I found useful was to be consistent and just really, really spend, if you can't spend an hour per day, try to spend at least half an hour. And Emily, I saw your post recently where you went to, near your house to the seaside to get some inspiration. Well, that's studying already.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do. Even if I go for a walk, I just think about, my assignment and I just get some ideas. And for me, that's it for a day. And it's just all about showing up for yourself, and because you are doing it for yourself, to kind of follow your passion. And I think it's just really, really important to be, consistent, and even making one little step towards your goal is already a step towards the right direction. So yeah, that's my tip.
I love that. I love that you said showing up for yourself. That's really great. And Tay, for yourself, I mean, a little bit of a different situation. You are a dental nurse by day, and you don't have the situation where you're homeschooling.
No.
But it's still quite hectic for you. So what are you doing to get to grips?
So obviously my day job's very clinical, and then to sort of come home after quite a long day at work, and then to get a bit get into interior design mode is quite difficult at times, because obviously it's a complete switch from clinical to being artistic. It is very difficult. I think when I first started the course, I got really hung up on having quite a lot of time put aside for it. So I'd like to want to do an 8-hour day full of studying. It wasn't really conducive to what I was trying to do. So a bit like yourselves, I've had to sort of take a step back and think all the stress you're putting on yourself is not really doing you much good. So again, I have probably in the last few months become a lot kinder to myself. And even if I do 2 hours a day, which at the moment I'm trying to do that for myself. I take my books to work and I do reading in my lunch hours. I try and do little bits every day, and that way it's a little bit less overwhelming, because you do get a lot of students messaging asking how you cope with it, and I think everybody is very different. So it's difficult to give advice on that, because everybody's job's different, everyone's home life's different, and I do think it is workable if you want it enough, because I think if you're passionate for it, you will get it. However long it takes you, I think you will get there in the end, but you do have to, I think, have passion and a desire to get somewhere with it. It's not just a course of pretty cushions and paint. I think people think it's a bit like that. It's a lot more than that. So I do tend to say to people, if this is what you really want, then do it. And it is difficult, but it's worth it.
True, absolutely true. So that's all really great advice, great tips from you all. I think it is really important to do a lot of research in the beginning, because it can be so overwhelming when you're sitting with the tasks. And I think that there's this assumption, because it's interior design, it's supposed to be easy, but it's definitely not easy. And the assignments are really in depth, really practical, but really in-depth research required. And I think the more you read and research, the more confident you will become, which brings me to the next part, which is about building confidence and what actually triggers that within each of you. Where do you find the moments where you feel, aha, you know, I feel really confident about this. This is really great. We're really enjoying that part of the learning journey, and seeing yourself emerge as an interior designer, or thinking like an interior designer. So I'll start with you, Dina. What for you triggers your confidence in interior design?
Yeah, Jill, when you look at the assignment, well, when I look at the assignment, and if I just take probably a picture of myself or my feelings, think about my feelings, and I think, oh my God, there is no way I'm going to do it. It's just impossible. And then, of course, as you go through it, you structure your assignment, you do research, you talk to your client if it is assignment number 2, or you just kind of imagine your client if you're in assignment number 4. And, when you get to a point when you're ready to submit, and you remember your feelings at the beginning, it's a completely different feeling. You kind of think, oh my God, I did it. I designed the room. I designed the studio apartment somewhere, in Crete. and that gives you confidence. That gives you that kind of reassurance that the time you spend on it, all the passion you put into it is absolutely worth it. It's a lot of the research that goes into an assignment. When I put this all on paper and when I see it, when I show it around, I think it's so worth it. And that's when I think, actually, it works. All the colors that I've combined using those, theories. Yeah, it's all about making sure that you just get on with it. You just do it and you don't give up. And in the end, the result is amazing. And that's how you feel a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about yourself, Tay?
I think when I first started the course, I would look at things as a whole. So the assignment, I'd read it and think, oh, like, where do we start with this? I think as time has gone on, I've learned to sort of digest it into bite-sized pieces. So I do like task 1 and just focus on that rather than going onto the next task to try and like see what I've got to do for that. So I do really take it into steps now. I think I lacked a lot of confidence recently, just feeling like maybe, I don't know, not adequate enough, or I just had a lot of like self-doubt. And I think I've learned recently that you can't compare yourself to others, because when you do that, you then end up not growing yourself. So I have had to take a step back and see that everybody's different. Everyone's got different strengths and weaknesses. And it's about being confident with what you're doing at the time and actually showing your strengths, but then working on your weaknesses. So there's things that I have weaknesses in, say, like my drawing, I wouldn't say is as strong as my essay writing. So I know I have to practice with my drawing, and it is about not looking at your first drawing and saying, oh, I'm not too good at that. It's about just pushing through and practicing. So I have had to sort of change my mentality about what I think I'm bad at and actually turn it into a positive rather than a negative. And I think that's helped my confidence a lot with the course as well.
That's amazing. I can definitely relate to what you're saying, because I think I'm quite competitive, and comparing myself to others is something that's just comes with being competitive. But I think the most important thing is being competitive with yourself. So trying to be better than you were yesterday. And I'm sure always complain. I'm a big whiner about the fact that I'm not good at drawing. And also I think I'm better at the essay writing and the research, because I come from an academic background, the same as you, Tay. So I understand that that's my strength, but you've got to lean into your strength, I think, and then you've got to kind of be okay that you're not 100% or where you'd like to be with regards to the other elements of your skill set, because it's only with practice that you'll get better, and not by bashing yourself, because that's just going to take you 10 steps backwards. Emily, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, mirroring what all of you girls have said, when I first opened, especially assignment 2, where you've got to do a complete living room redesign, and you're looking at the site survey. I thought, God, like, I can never do that. I can't do a technical drawing, and it took me weeks, and there were tears and there were tantrums, and it was awful, but I got there in the end. And I just remember putting all of that onto like my PowerPoint document, and literally I was dancing around the kitchen. Like, it was such a great moment that I'd actually done it. So I think it is celebrating the small steps like that. Like I say, never did I think that I would be able to achieve anything like that. And also for me, like, I'm not used to working with any of these sort of programs. So even Word and PowerPoint, it was a massive learning curve for me. So when I was able to submit assignment 2, just the fact that I'd done a complete presentation, I was like, wow, I've done that. And I feel like that's a massive step forward for me. And obviously now I'm going on to Canva with a lot of help from you, Dil. And that again opens up a massive sort of like range of opportunities to make your work look so much better.
Yeah.
So even from assignment 1 to now assignment 4, the difference in my presentation and the way I'm communicating my work is huge. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest like step forward that I've taken.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember when because I'm doing it through virtual classroom study, and like I said, very competitive. I always want to be not lagging behind in the class or holding anyone back. And I remember when we had to do, it was one of the first classes, I think, and we had to measure the room that we were in. And I'd actually started during lunchtime because I wanted to be ahead. And I wasn't done by the time we had to kind of have all the measurements down. I was sweating, panicking. I was just like, no, this is not who I am. This is not the type of student that I am. I always have to be the best. You have to get over that really quickly. I think you have to realize that this is a learning process and you can't possibly be good at everything. Otherwise, you're not going to see any growth whatsoever. But before we get to sort of design growth, I actually want to tap into design fatigue, because it's probably not talked about too often, but it does happen. We're in this stage where we're living, breathing, eating interior design, absorbing everything that we possibly can in every free moment that we can, apart from actually doing assignment work and research. So I find that sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. There'll be a moment where you just feel too stressed to actually put your ideas on paper. It just becomes a muddle, and you start to panic a little bit, even if you're on your own and there's no specific deadline in place. That tends to happen with me. So I know that design fatigue can set in, and it can ruin the process for you and the work that you're producing. So when does that actually set in, or does it actually set in, or have you dealt with that at all? Any of you? Who would like to go first?
Dil, just to continue what you've been just discussing, ladies, about comparing yourself to someone else. I think that I also have this issue, and sometimes I also have this imposter syndrome, saying, well, it's never going to work, and I'm not as good as someone else. And especially with social media now, we see what other students do. But what I usually try to do is just to reach out to those people, and like yourself, Dil, when I reached out to you because I saw your assignment, I think it was assignment 2, and I said, oh my God, there is no way I'm going to be as good. But by reaching out to you, I understood that you're using Canva. Actually, you're professional in this field, and you've been doing this for so many years, and I thought, wow, I need to give it a go. I really need to give it a go. I need to try, and here I am. I'm doing my assignment 4 in Canva, thanks to you. Same with sketching. I remember I reached out to Georgie, whom we've heard from last time, because your sketching was just amazing. And again, I said, how did you learn? And, what did you do? And she, directed me to Stephanie. So, but it does, sometimes it does hit me, of course, as well, that, I feel like I'm trapped. I have no more ideas. And I think whatever ideas I have are not good enough. Mm-hmm. What I usually do in this day is I just take a pause, and I just look at the bigger picture, like Tayla says, And I just start asking myself, why did I start this course? And, you know, as I find answers to this, it is, for me, it is to develop myself. It is to give an example to my daughters that if you're passionate about something, you know, however busy you are, you just need to find time for yourself. And that's when I find resilience, and that's what keeps me going. And that's when I think, hold on, you know, let's just have a cup of coffee, let's go for a walk, and we start again. We might start again, we might, you know, just bin everything we've done before. But it's really important to kind of, you know, start with why we're doing this in the first place.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, again, so similar. I often feel completely overwhelmed, and like, you know, there's no way that I can achieve what they're asking us to achieve, and really do sort of have that lack of confidence in myself and in the work that I'm putting down. And you, like you say, you can't help but compare it to other people. You know, we're lucky enough to be in a really nice support group, so we can share different ideas and things, but sometimes you're like, oh my God, that's nowhere near as good as what such and such had. So like you say, it is moving away from that, and it's I'm really trying to trust what I'm doing is okay. But I do have to walk away from it sometimes, you know, especially like the last big assignment was assignment 2, and I did have to at points where I think, no, okay, I need to walk away, I need to have a few days away from it just to process how I was feeling about it, and then I would come back and feel sort of in a much stronger position and able to put my ideas down in a much better way. So I think it's knowing when to sort of take that break if you need to, and yeah, just sort of gaining confidence in yourself and believing that actually you can do it.
Absolutely. I think we can be really unkind to ourselves sometimes, so it is important to take a step back. And Tay, what are some of the coping mechanisms that you've put in place when you're kind of hit with design fatigue?
I do think design fatigue and a lack of confidence go hand in hand. And I do think that when you doubt yourself and that whole, let me look at what people are doing, why am I not doing that, or why am I not there just yet? That's when I think my design fatigue definitely sets in, and it's very much like I shut down mentally. I don't want it. It's let's give it up. I can't do this. The end goal's too far away. And there are a lot of days like that. And the only way that I tend to seem to cope with that is by seeking inspiration from other people in terms of like designers and maybe people like influencers on Instagram and stuff. And then I do seem to get a bit more, oh, actually, you know, we all have to start somewhere, and even these designers have had to start somewhere. And I think that's the only thing that I use to cope with that sort of design fatigue. But a bit like you girls as well, I do think to have a couple of days away from it and to have read a normal book, not about cushions and scale drawings, let's just like have a normal, like a few days of normality, maybe watch a series on Netflix. It does help with that, because I do think when we're always looking at our course, it can get very mentally draining. So, and also not to beat yourself up that you've got 2 days of chilling out, not looking at your books. I think that is a massive part of this course. You have to be kind. It's just, I've done an hour today. It's more than not doing anything. I think that's where we should all be at. And I think that does help with feeling tired and feeling uninspired. I think it is good to take a break.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, what helps me sometimes when I do step away from my assignments is that I try to remember, and it ties in with what you said, Dina, the why. But for me, it's more about the why this particular assignment, who am I designing it for, and try to focus, even if it's a pretend client, focus on the client, focus on the personality traits of the client, try and be a little bit imaginative about this client's lifestyle. I mean, you are making it up anyway, so you might as well go the full 9 yards, or you know, just really enjoy the imagination side of things first, because that helps those creative juices flow and the problem solving that's a big part of the interior design process come into play. And that's where you can find, you know, yourself moving away from fatigue and starting to get a bit excited. And then you start dealing with the challenges one by one and breaking it up. Which actually brings me to design growth and overcoming challenges, and specific challenges that might have seemed ginormous at the time. Sticking to your guns, sticking to the process, equipping yourself with additional skills, like maybe doing Stephanie's sketching class, or watching a SketchUp tutorial on YouTube, or like you said, Tay, going through the Instagram accounts of really established designers and looking at their history, where they've started and how far they've come, and then matching that to where you are right now, applying yourself, getting over those challenges, you start to see growth. And we don't even have to go that far. If we look at where we're all at, I think we're roughly all at assignment 4. Mm-hmm. And if you compare that to who you were and how you were when you just started the course, you know, I'm sure you've seen growth. So what specific areas do you see that growth in, Emily?
Yeah, so I think we've all mentioned wonderful Stephanie from Behind Canvas. Even you know, I'm not artistic at all, never did I think that I could sketch anything that resembled a room. So by sort of learning that skill and going on that journey, that really has built my confidence. And then when you put that together with a design package at the end, which you're going to present to a client, you know, for the assignment or whatever, that just gives you lots of confidence, and you can see the growth initially from, you know, certainly from when I first started the course. I think as well, when I first started, I just wanted to get to the end of the assignment, so I would stumble over everything, like Tayla said. You know, I'd be like, right, I just want to get to the end. But actually, one thing that I'm really strict on now is that I do work through each bit of the task at a time and not think too far ahead, because I think that slowed me down a lot in previous assignments. So I've sort of, you know, made peace with what I need to do and just take each bit at a time. And I feel much more confident going into assignments like that, rather than thinking I've got to come up with a complete design straight away. Of course you don't. That's not what happens in the real interior design world. So yeah, I definitely feel like I've grown a huge amount since I started the course, definitely.
Great to hear. How about you, Dina?
I think for me, it's just the ability to present what I've kind of delivered to the clients, and also, you know, present in a way that really resonates with them. And when I presented the package to my client for my assignment 2, and when I saw her face, and she said, well, to be honest, you do talk as if you know me so well. And I said, well, yeah, I do know you well. You're my friend. But she said, in a way that, you know, even the color scheme you've chosen, I love it. And she said, I would never have come up with these ideas by myself, but, you know, you kind of managed to reflect it so well. And I think these kind of things really, you know, help me to be confident. And I think those presentations, when you put them together at the end, and when you know, just submit those or you present this to the clients, that's why I see, okay, I've grown. Yeah, you know, I've done it. Something I thought would never happen has happened.
Yeah.
And of course, these things and this feeling keeps me going, because I know next assignment I will start with, oh, what's that? When will I do it? When will I do it? So when I, you know, sit in front of the client, or sit just you know, in front of the laptop submitting, it's a great feeling, and that's how we grow.
Absolutely. Tay, how about you, Babe?
I think in terms of how far I've come with the course, I think I'm not mathematical, I'm not sort of that sort of person mindset wise, but I feel the biggest growth is probably understanding technical drawings and applying that to the course. I thought I was going to get it as quickly as I did, so I'm grateful for that. I think that the biggest growth I probably am appreciative is where my mindset is and how to cope with the strategies that you have to apply within the course, and managing your time and also managing your workload. And just maybe having that different mindset and being a bit more positive, it actually allows you to grow, you know, more than I think if you were, oh, I can't do this, or, you know, I think that's where I've seen my massive growth is definitely changing my mindset I think not just this year, probably towards the end of last year, I did have to sort of change my mindset a lot, but this is, you know, it's about having a passion and not taking it too seriously maybe as well. So that's definitely where my biggest growth is how I look at things and how I strategize within the course now, rather than just seeing it as an overwhelming experience. Breaking it down is the biggest growth that I probably experienced, to be honest.
And that's absolutely necessary, and it's a wonderful thing to see growth in, because really that's going to transform your approach to your assignments and help you produce better work. Because when you're caught up in all of that emotion because you're overwhelmed, I think it really impacts the quality of your design at the end of the day. And I think again, it takes practice, it takes time, it's not going to happen overnight. None of these things are going to come to you instantly. That's the point of learning, right? And I think that we've covered quite a few things in this particular session, which I'm sure is going to resonate with so many other students, whether from the academy or from other institutions. So the key takeaways from today's episode are definitely show up for yourself, break it down, don't compare yourself to others. Remember that you can step away if it becomes overwhelming. And then also, when you don't know what to do, remember the why. Tap into the why. So with that, I'd like to just ask a last quick fire question. Who is inspiring you all these days? And a short reason as to why. So we'll start with Tay.
Okay. Well, I think me and Emily are very much on the same page with this. We're constantly messaging about Shay Maggie. I just love her, and I could speak about her for hours. So she's definitely one of them. And Karen Bowen, I think she's really inspirational. I think she's a really strong woman figure, and I think the way she handles her business and her clients, I found it really inspiring. So those are probably the two at the moment that I would go with.
So Shay from Studio McGee and Karen from House of Bun. Excellent. Emily, how about you?
Yeah, obviously we definitely fangirl over Shay McGee all the time. Love Studio McGee's designs. I love everything they stand for. I think they're very family orientated but very contemporary. They really fit with people's lifestyles. I love it. I also love Amber Lewis. I think she's got a similar sort of vibe going on. But I also love Abigail Ahern. I love the way she injects colour and happiness, and she's very much about designing a space that brings you joy, and I love that as well.
Excellent. Dina?
You're probably looking for someone famous from me, but I'm going to tell it. Who inspires me these days are my daughters. They are my little one, she starts walking and she takes steps, and they're bold steps, and I think it's just so amazing to see her being so confident. And my 5-year-old, she is learning to write, and again, these are essential skills, but the way they approach it, it's just absolutely fascinating. And I think we need to learn from children. Each day is a new adventure, and each day brings something new, and it's just about being confident. But if you ask me about someone famous, I think Studio Ashbin, she inspires me a lot because, it's just that combination of polished and rustic, and just reading people's cultures and psychology and reflecting this on design. I think that's quite interesting. So.
Excellent. I definitely am always inspired by Athena Calderon from I Swoon. I think her style, her energy, her aura is simply divine. Similarly, Steve Cordoni from Australia, his aesthetic is amazing. I also really love Dara Huang, who is based here in London. She's actually an architect, and they also incorporate interior design. I just love her boldness and just her approach to business in general. She's very proactive. I think there's so much that we can learn from those who are established for sure, but also to remember, like you said, Dina, that inspiration is everywhere within our children, within our environments, and we need to be open-minded and remember that this is a journey. And we are only going to grow day by day. So don't get caught up in anxiety and stress, because that's not what's going to fuel your end result. basically. So thank you all for joining me for episode 2. It's been really lovely to talk to you all. Obviously, we speak every day, but speaking in a setting like this and actually digging really deep, it can be quite, again, overwhelming. You feel vulnerable for sharing, but thank you for sharing, because I'm sure it's going to mean so much to so many out there.
Thank you.
Mhm.